It's time for Sustainable Living Made Easy with Glenn Ballblitz, the show that gives you helpful advice on how to live more independently. Now, here's your host, Janet Rose.
Well, hello and welcome to today's show. Hope you're having a wonderful day so far. Looking forward to this conversation with Mr. Ballblitz. Of course, I wasn't here last week.
Partying at the lake?
You had the men taking over last week. I don't know what I think about that.
Oh, we had beer.
You did not. Unless you started brewing that, have you?
No, but I got a neighbor.
Okay. I was going to say, you make a mean wine, so that's not that big of a stretch.
It's time.
I'm not allowed to make whiskey or beer. I can make a little wine, but my wife says I have to keep it under control.
Oh, so you can't do that?
No.
All right, I got you. All right, fair enough. So before we get into today's topic, I want to talk to you about a headline that I read recently. I didn't know if you had seen it or not, but it's a discovery that was made right here in Virginia at George Washington's Mount Vernon. Did you see any of this?
No, I did not, but just for the show, we talked about it a little bit, and it's just fascinating.
It's pretty fascinating stuff. So it was George Washington's Mount Vernon estate, not too far from where we are.
I mean, we're talking about the father of our country.
Yep.
Prepping.
Right.
That's what he was doing.
But, I feel like Thomas Jefferson gets all the kudos for that. But Washington was no slouch.
No.
For sure. And in this archaeologist who was digging around in the mansion cellar as part of a revitalization project. Now, it amazes me that this hasn't been discovered before now. Maybe they're just now getting to the cellar.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he started out finding the top of a bottle. Then he discovered the whole bottle was intact. And so he was able to get that uncovered. Then he found another bottle fully intact, and it had liquid in it that had survived 3 centuries.
That's unbelievable.
It is. It's absolutely crazy. And they're saying it's a huge find, especially when it comes to figuring out how they preserved food and protected it from Virginia heat, because that was a real, you can talk about global warming all you want to.
Right.
They were dealing with some record-setting temperatures even back then. They think it was put in the ground between 1758 and 1776.
Wow. That is so
crazy.
Amazing. But, we give the credit to George Washington for being as smart as he was. But these were mundane things that everyone did.
Well, you had to do it.
Right.
So apparently they figured out that they were filled with cherries, and they would go in and they would dig a trench, and then they would put the bottles down in the trench, and then they would fill that with clay. And that would refrigerate. And I mean, my grandmother had a root cellar.
Sure.
That's where my uncle and his brother-in-law decided to put some home brew. That didn't go well. That may or may not have exploded in the cellar. But that's another conversation for another day. I just thought you would think that was...
Well, you got to experiment a little bit.
Oh, well, they did. It didn't end well for them. But anyway, they're saying this is going to be shed a lot of light on how food was preserved. And
what?
No,
all you got to do is listen to the program.
I know, and you could have told them that.
Just ask us.
Are you burying anything? No, you're not making any kimchi in your backyard, are you?
That's my business. I'm prepping here.
That's right. So, what are we talking about today?
Well, we all know that you had your soil tested, and we all know that you found out what you need and whether you want to adjust your pH. I know you did all that because we had a whole program, and you're good students. So that's what we're going to talk about. Is just the nutrients, the soil, the pH, what you can do to raise and lower it. It's fairly easy. You just don't want to go overboard on any of it. Mm-hmm. Take your time. Get it done.
Right.
It can be done by you. You don't need a scientist to do this.
Right.
You're probably already doing it through organic means, or maybe a little Miracle Grow. That's up to you. If you don't have the time to do all the things that we do, fine, just get it done.
But the bottom line is, when you get down to it, the nutrients in your soil directly correlates with the nutrients in your food.
We talk about vitamins all the time. I mean, it's $1 billion industry. Well, the plants need the same type of nutrients and minerals, and that's what makes their little plant world work.
Right.
You need iron in your body to create red blood cells.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the plant world, you need phosphorus, potassium, calcium, and lots of other minerals.
Sure.
So it's all about what the plant needs, and if it's not there, your plant's going to suffer, or it's not going to produce as much fruit as it could. So
Right.
we're talking about soil amendments. So what is a soil amendment? That's anything that can improve the soil to make your plants grow better. That's a pretty simple amendment.
Yeah.
You're amending that soil. Some of the amendments will change the pH, improve the nutrients, cause it to be lighter or aerated so you can get oxygen to the roots. Better drainage. If you have clay soils, those tend not to drain real well. So if you're adding an amendment to make that soil a little lighter so it drains well, gets down deep in the roots. Water retention. If you have mulch on your flowers, it does the same thing. It keeps the moisture in because the Virginia heat gets kind of crazy
Right.
there around August.
Just like it did for George.
Right. So all these amendments are very general statements. So what are you amending for? And that's what we're after. What does your garden need? What does your plants need? We talked about changing the pH, how acidic your soil is, or alkaline. Most times in Virginia, you're going to have acidic soil because of the clays. So if you need to raise that pH, because an acidic soil means you have a very low pH. And anything below 7 is on the acidic side. Anything above 7.0 is on the alkaline side. Now, there's a range that some plants like. Some plants like it slightly acidic, like blueberries. Man, they're down in the 6. They'll take it. But some do not like that. So
Right.
you have to get that good range. The optimal would be 7. Once you hit 7, everything likes it. It may not be perfect, but that's your target. That way you can add a little bit of sulfur to it, or add a little bit of baking soda. That kind of things will change it for your specific plants. And there's charts online that shows you exactly what the pH for each vegetable or each plant. If you want to go that far, okay, do it. But you need to be able to test that on your own. You can't be sending off a spoonful test, for a row of beans.
Now, what are your thoughts on the test that you can buy at your local farm supply?
They work.
Okay.
The little litmus test strips or the liquid type. I don't know if any of you've ever done a pool, had a pool
sure.
and there's a pH
Yeah.
test, right? Well, those use color charts. You add the two liquid reagent to the little sample, and it'll tell you it'll turn pink or slightly purple, and that means this pH. Those work. The little test strips work real well. I wouldn't go crazy if you're at 6.9, and like I said, optimal is 7. Don't go monkeying with it too
Yeah.
much, because you
Leave
could
it-
overdo
you could mess
this,
it up.
right?
Yeah.
And the idea here is if you're adjusting your pHs, do a little at a time. Do a little 1 month, test it again. Okay, it come up a little bit, and do it again until you get that optimal level. Interesting thing about mulches, if you're going to mulch something and that natural decomposition of the mulch starts breaking down, if you check that, the microbes have balanced the soil. Now, I didn't know this, but the mycorrhizal and the microbes and all the little bacterias, they can balance the soil.
Wow.
Now, it takes a long time.
Right. That ship turns slowly.
Right, but look at the woods. If
Oh,
you go
yeah.
out and test the woods right there, 7.2. So, God's got a good plan going on, so don't
If
mess
we
it
don't
up.
screw it up. That's right.
Right. Back to acidic soils. Now, you can add lime. Everybody kind of knows that adding lime will sweeten the soil and bring that pH up. Wood ashes will do the same. You got to be careful with wood ashes. They're very fast acting. When you buy lime nowadays, it's not the white powdered lime that we had
Back
years
in the
ago.
day.
Right.
Okay.
For some reason, they think people were breathing this stuff by throwing it and sucking it in. So they pelletized it. That's okay.
Okay.
It's just a slower acting.
I was gonna
lime.
say,
It's the
probably
same.
takes longer.
Yeah, it's the same thing. But you can still buy that, and they call it agricultural lime, and it's much faster. But faster is not always better. So unless your soil is being prepared for a new garden, don't be throwing that fast-acting stuff, because if your plants are already there, you throw a bunch of fast-acting lime in there, it could mess your plants up. Baking soda. Baking soda will change very quickly, and it's the only one I would recommend if you got really crazy acidic red soils. Adding the baking soda will almost immediately change the pH.
Okay.
And it won't hurt your plants.
Okay.
You can't go crazy with it, but it's a very efficient way to do it also.
I mean, we have so much red clay around here. I mean, it's in some areas, it's like a brick, you know?
That's exactly what
Yeah.
my garden started out with.
Yeah.
You know, there was no garden there when I moved, and stripped off the topsoil to see what it looked like. Then I went, uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can either make...
If I were going to be a mason, I'd be in good shape.
Yeah,
All
I can
right.
either make brick and pottery, or I got to do a lot of amendment. And you're probably better off to build on top of that rather than mix the clay in.
Right.
So, you know, it may cost you a little bit to buy some compost, buy some topsoil,
Right.
and build up rather than
And
try
that's
to
and
dig
that's what
down.
we had to do, just because it's between the clay and the quartz
Yeah.
and the roots.
Yeah,
and,
that'll stop a plow real fast.
and it's long. We have long sheets of rock, like it's like a bedrock, and it just lays in there. It's unbelievable.
Digging a post is not an option, I'm thinking.
No, we were digging dropping a electric line out to his building, and you literally we reached an area where nope, it's not go. Well, I sent you the photos.
Yeah.
Going, do I need a jackhammer? What are we going to have to do? But it was so deep, so wide that it was just unbelievable, and that's a problem. You have to go up
Yep.
because you can't go down.
That's a fact. Mm-hmm. All right, so we talked about raising the pH. Well, lowering the pH, if you have alkaline soils, a lot of salts in your soils, that would be a high pH. You could do aluminum sulfate. Now, you've probably heard of a different name called alum. That's the stuff that makes your pucker.
Oh yeah.
Alum.
Which will, just a sidebar, my lord, if you have a cold sore, alum will heal it overnight.
Well, I would jigger.
Yep. Now you know.
So,
It's
yeah.
it's true. It's a true
A
story.
little medical information,
I know.
gardening information.
I'm just
We do
saying,
it. We
you're
do it
all about it. So
There you go. The alum is very fast acting. So those are one of those ones you want to do a little bit at a time, because it'll be fast acting. You can check it within 2 weeks, and you'll get results from it. Most soils are not going to be a high pH. They're just not for Virginia anyway. So a good test is real good. Sulfur pellets will also do it. That's another one that used to get in a powdered form. It was called wettable sulfur, and you would mix it with water and spray it. It smells terrible. It smells like rotten eggs. But you definitely don't want to breathe that dust. That's one of them I agree with, the pelletized type.
Okay.
And it's slow acting, but sulfur is one of the slower acting ones. So it will take you 6 months to see a result.
wow.
So you don't want to go crazy. You don't want to put it on this week, check it next week, and go, oh, nope, it throws some more. Don't want to do that.
Okay.
So, as I said, you can still buy the powdered sulfur, but use it in a wettable form. Wear a mask. Do not breathe this stuff in. It's terrible stuff. And here's what happens. You breathe it in, and the moisture in your throat, lungs,
Right.
turns it to sulfuric acid. Nasty stuff. So that's why you don't do it. They used to spray fruit trees with the lime sulfur, and they would make it themselves, and a lot of people got injured from it, so they quit doing that.
Okay.
Now you can buy lime sulfur for fruit trees if you have an orchard. We tend not to do all that.
I gotcha. All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back and continue our conversation. And it's an important one, especially if you're trying to grow This spring and summer, we'll be back with Sustainable Living Made Easy with Glenn Boblitz.
Get ready for a new soundtrack for your life. Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake. It's music that'll take away your troubles for a while.
That's what I'm talking about!
Wake up with Janet and Mark on the Morning Jam. They'll keep you informed and encouraged, and we all need more of that.
This ain't jam.
You're invited to be a part of the Doc Rock family, your feel-good station. Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake.
Want to play Doc Rock SML on Alexa?
You gotta be kidding me, right?
It's easy to do. Begin by saying, Alexa, enable skill. Alexa will prompt you to specify which skill you want to enable, and then you'll say, Enable Live 365 skill. Once you've successfully enabled the skill, you're ready to play. Ask for Doc Rock SML. Now, every time you say, Alexa, play Live 365, you'll be good to go with Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake.
Here we go! Dance all day long!
If you have a question for Glenn, you can text it 434-248-0704, or you can join our group on Facebook by searching for Sustainable Living Made Easy.
Well, we're talking dirt. They'll say,
Not even politics.
I know. What's the dirt, Glenn?
Organic matter. That's where we're headed to next.
Okay. All right. Well, it is very, very important to make sure that your soil is as healthy as it can possibly be, because that's going to be the difference in having a successful crop, having nutritious food or not.
Not.
Yeah.
No sense.
Nobody wants that.
Right. You do all this work that we're talking about. You
Right.
Just dig it. Everything's work about it. And then don't get a good crop out of it. That just doesn't make sense. So we're trying to get you the best crop that we can get out of your garden, the most nutritious and all that kind of stuff. And it takes a little work, takes a little organization.
But it's worth it.
So we've got your pH straightened out. Now we need to start building the soil for what the plant is actually going to uptake to make it grow. Organic matter. Now that's a big subject. The reason for it holds water. It is a huge source of carbon, of which is the building block for plant cells. Everything, this is a carbon-based planet. All living matter has carbon-based cells. So that's huge here. So the more organic matter you have in there, the more carbon you've added to the soil for the plants to use, for the microbes to use, to the mycorrhizals to use. So there's a little network that depends on this. It also brings in aeration, allows oxygen down to the roots. So, everybody knows that plants breathe out CO2. Well, where are they breathing in of the oxygen from? Well, they're getting it from the roots. If you have a very clay soil, it's hard for them to breathe. It's like putting a mask over you,
Right.
and it just, you need to lighten that soil, which also allows good drainage. Most plants do not like waterlogged feet. Grapes, that's a good example. They will crap out in a minute. So, heavy rains, for just weeks and months on end, sometimes here in Virginia in the spring.
Well, and then you get funguses and all that. It just makes it more
Exactly.
susceptible to so many things.
And you want that moisture to go all the way into the soil, not just in that first 3 inches. So, having that organic matter will hold that water, but allow it to pass straight through, and that's important. That's why worms are important. You know that the worms are the cause of the drainage.
I was talking to my worms yesterday, just so you know, as I was planting my tomatoes. I was like, "Hi guys, good job." My husband's going, "What are you doing?" It's like, "I have lots of earthworms, and I'm very excited."
Absolutely.
I'm just telling them they're doing a good job.
They're doing a good job. You pat your dog on the head. Why wouldn't you give a good?
Well, and I think that's a good sign when you see a bunch of worms living in your dirt. I feel like that's a really good sign when you've got that going on.
Well, that definitely shows that you don't have a chemical problem.
You're right. Okay.
Because they will disappear if you start spraying a bunch of chemicals.
Yeah, we don't do
why don't I
that.
have worms here? That's because you poisoned the soil.
Yeah, no.
And all the little microbes. If you don't see worms, you're not going to see microbes. You're
My-
not going to see all the little good stuff.
My husband got a little upset with me because I wouldn't let him spray the walkway. I don't like using sprays at all, any kind. We've got an organic kind of Roundup that we make with vinegar and salt and that kind of thing. And so he uses that, around the house. But he wanted to use that just in my pathways. I'm like, no, absolutely not. No. You can get your little Cobra weeder. We'll do that.
That's right. It takes effort to keep weeds down.
It does.
And nobody likes the weeds because they just compete with everything. They look kind of crappy, and if you don't get them out, they're going to throw 10,000 more seeds. So yeah, it's work.
Yeah, if you don't stay on top of it, it's better to do it when they're little, for sure.
Yeah, it's easier to pull a
Just like children, it's easier to get that under control before they hit like 4.
Yeah. Yeah, you're pretty much toast after that.
That's
All right,
right.
organic matter. The sources for that are like compost. There's a lot of places around here that are actually making a business selling this compost. And all it is bark, leaves, vegetative matter that they've gathered up somewhere, stockpile it, aerate it, turn it, flip it, all that, just like in your compost pile. And now it's just turned to this black, light soil. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't say it was cheap. I just said it was good stuff.
All right.
But you should get it. If you don't have that, you need to jumpstart your garden with it. It's worth the money.
So tell them again what it is, where they can get it, all that kind of thing.
Any of the places that sell mulch are now selling compost, and you have to ask for that. It's fully decomposed compost.
Yeah.
And it is just broken down organic matter, just like the mulch that you can buy.
Right.
Only this has no dyes, none of that kind of stuff in
Right.
it. They're doing it for gardeners.
Okay.
And that tells me there's a supply and demand issue going on.
Yeah.
There's more people gardening today than there was in the past 60 years, just because everybody's figuring it out. You should too. So that's one source of it. Manures. Now, you have to watch what you're doing with manures. They
Right.
must be composted too. You can't just go to your local horse barn and gather
Right.
up green manure just because there's a big pile.
Right.
That will have to be composted, and you could turn that into your existing compost and mix it. But that's also adding nitrogen to your soil, because the manures are from, they're eating grasses and hays and that kind of stuff, but they're also eating seeds. So if you just take raw manure,
Right.
it's a little bit composted, but not all the seeds are gone, you're going to introduce weed seeds into your garden. That is not what you want to do. You can also buy it at Lowe's and all that kind of stuff, but find a good source of composted manure. You may have to do it yourself. But
Very, very possible. I
Yeah.
know when the circus would come to town, they would have people come and get the elephant dung. You could come and get it for free, and people did. they would come and get the elephant dung.
okay.
I mean, it was pretty smart when you think about it, because they had to do something with it.
Yeah,
and we would
I mean,
talk about it on the
being
radio.
that they're producing it a wheelbarrow load at a time,
Yes,
I would
indeed.
say they need a little help.
Does it take that many to produce a lot? So there's that.
Worm castings. You've heard people having worm farms, and they'll get worm tea, and then they, of course, the worms are digesting all the stuff that you're putting in there, and they end up with this black soil in the bottom of your little worm farm, but it's full of microbes and enzymes that are not going to be found in your garden. It's not going to be found in the raw compost that you're buying from the local store. It's going to add specific enzymes, and I think the worms carry like 12 to 13 different enzymes, just
Wow.
like your stomach does.
Sure.
So they're adding biome to your soil, which is a big deal.
Right.
You should have as much things growing by weight underground before you ever plant.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing when you say, okay, I grow 5,000 pounds of vegetables a year out of this garden. There should be 5,000 pounds of microbes and mycorrhizal in my garden right now before I ever plant anything.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, and how would you know? You
Right.
got to have a microscope. But you can look in that soil. If you're a little scientific guy like me that wants to know, You do a slide, and you'll see all these microbes in there.
Wow.
And they all have a purpose. Every single one of them does something different. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is.
All right, all these enzymes and bacteria and things the plants are using in a symbiotic way. So having them work together is how your garden starts producing unbelievable. All right, so biochar is another one. Biochar is nothing more than charcoal. You can make your own charcoal, grind it up. It doesn't have to be down to the size of powder. It doesn't need that. If you get it down to the size of pea, and it does not break down, it's pure carbon. That is also where microbes live. It's like a condo for microbes. It also retains the oxygen, and it has an electrical charge that keeps the microbes warm. I didn't know about this until recently. But because of the charge around them, and this goes back to real scientific, there's an electron movement in this charge.
Wow.
Acts like a heater and keeps the little microbes alive in the deepest of freeze.
When you're talking about charcoal, you're not talking about like going out and getting a bag of charcoal.
Now, I'm not talking about briquettes, that's already got the fuel soaked into.
No, we don't use that anyway. But
the charcoal that you buy for your grill, the big chunk,
just plain.
That is
Okay.
charcoal. You can buy that and break it up and use that also. Or you can buy from there's a gasification plant. I think it's up in Concord that burns wood chips.
Yeah.
To create steam, which creates electricity. Now you can buy that by the truckload. I would suggest that you get like a 1-ton truck and then share it with all your neighbors.
Yeah.
Got to be careful with that stuff because it'll raise your pH really fast. Because it's got sulfur and all kinds of stuff in it. But, it's wood. But it is good stuff. Adds charcoal, which is carbon, to your soil. Raises the pH, which you probably need anyway. Has minerals in it because the tree had minerals in it.
Right.
So, good stuff.
But it's important to know what your soil
Biochar.
needs before you start you can't just willy-nilly go in and start adding this stuff.
Yeah, you can't take a wheelbarrow full and fill a hole and think you're going to grow anything in it.
All right.
So it's an amendment. Leaves. Once leaves hit the ground and fall, what do you do with them? You just...
I leave mine alone until it's time to garden, and then we take them out. That's what we do.
They really should be composted up. Now, if they're on your garden, that's fine because that'll create a little blanket to keep your microbes alive.
But that's why I leave it. Yeah.
Yeah. You can add that to your compost pile. Compost piles should be
Of course, they break down too. That bottom layer breaks down pretty quick.
They're already coated with microbes, just naturally. Once you add it to your compost pile, all those other microbes come in and they eat it. And then you have the mycorrhizal, which is like a fungus that breaks things down. So the whole thing gets to start eaten up by nature. And what you end up with is this great organic soil. So you can use that. And, that's cheap. And most people just have it sucked up and hauled to the landfill.
Yeah, I know.
How crazy is that?
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. I don't uncover all those leaves myself because I never know what's under there.
Well, it can get a little buggy and snaky sometimes.
It can because we ended up with a pretty heavy blanket this year. And my thing is like, leave it alone. Don't rake it. Don't be burning anything. Just leave it alone. It has its job to do. That's always the thing. But then when it's time to uncover it, then I get less bossy. Like, honey, there's a lot of that going on.
Now, if you have a row garden, you can put raw leaves in between your garden. You just don't want to till them in right away. Let that break down.
Let it do its thing.
You can till them in the following year because microbes will have broken it down mostly. But that's a good way to keep your rows covered up. Everybody don't like leaves. You use them.
Yeah. Use them to your advantage. All of a sudden, they're your friend.
Yeah.
And not your enemy.
We're going to minerals. What kind of minerals do you need? There's phosphorus, nitrogen, potassium, seleniums, all that kind of stuff that is supposed to be in your soil. Where can you get that? It's not hard to figure out that you can't get a good source of those pure minerals. But there's naturally forming minerals. There's stuff called azomite. It comes in a bag, but it's full of phosphates, minerals that you would not get. They're naturally occurring. Dolomitic limestone, which is from volcanics, and just the earth itself has created the limestone, ancient seas, that kind of stuff. And they're mining this stuff, bringing it to the surface and going, wow, there's a lot of minerals in there the plants need. They grind it up, sell it to farmers. Green sands. Green sands are ancient seas that they're actually getting oil out of green sand. Did you know that?
I did not.
Rankin Basin. Anyway, it's mostly algae and silicon. Silicon is another important thing for plant life. But all this stuff is in this, and you can buy it at most farm stores. You can buy it, some of this at Lowe's. I know you can get the azomite at Lowe's and dolomitic limestone. Gypsum, that's another one that has lots of minerals in it. You can get a bag of gypsum and put it on your garden. Sea salt. Now, here's one that you're not going to hear about too often.
Right.
The mineralized sea salts that you feed your horse, the red, looks like a rock.
Yeah.
Because it is a rock. Mm-hmm. But it has all kinds of minerals in it. In fact, it has about 60 minerals in it.
Wow.
And some you wouldn't think of, including arsenic. You're not supposed to eat arsenic. Oh my gosh!
Well, but
your body actually,
yeah,
your body is actually supposed to have arsenic as part of its immune system.
Right.
You just don't want to
in
have
the correct levels.
You just don't want to have a lot of it.
Right.
But all these minerals that you're supposed to have in your body is the exact same as what seawater is. So if you have rock salt, mineralized sea salt, you should put it on your garden. Now, that sounds crazy because everybody knows that salt will kill about anything. Mm-hmm. You have to have it in the right proportion. Here's how you do it. Put some of this salt in a gallon jug. Stir it around, let it sit. Stir it around, let it sit. Stir it around, let it sit. If it all dissolved, you can add a little more. And you keep doing that until the rock salt will not dissolve anymore.
Wow.
That tells me that 1 gallon of solution is 100% concentrated. Now, what you want to put on your garden is only 2%. So you would take 2 ounces of the solution, add it to 100 ounces of water. Now you have almost 2% solution. Just easy math that way. So 2 ounces per gallon. Gallon's 128, so it'll be a little bit more diluted. Okay, it's easy math.
Yeah.
That's what you want to put on your garden. Don't pour it directly on the leaves. Side dress it. Side dress it meaning where the width of the plant, right along the drip line of the leaves, that's where you want to do your fertilizing and your sea salt. Now, you only have to do that about once every 5 years because it's concentrated.
It's that concentrated.
Right. Your plants are only using up these microscopic amounts, and it takes the bacteria and the mycorrhizals to do the carrying. It's pretty amazing that they do all the work and the plant gets all the credit, but there you are. So that's a good thing to do, and it keeps up the immunities. That way you don't have to spray with all this stuff. If the modern farmers were to use sea salt instead of sprays, they'd be better off. Mm-hmm. Because it didn't kill all the microbes that's helping the plants. Right. We've short-circuited that, and just due to industrial agriculture. Yeah. That sounds like something really big and neat and cool and be able to do all this stuff.
But not really better living through chemicals.
They spend more time, more money fighting nature when they ought to be working with it. Mm-hmm. And that's a hard convince to a conventional farmer because of the convenience of it. Well, sometimes convenience will come around and bite you in the butt. And it's happening now.
And it has in many cases, sure.
All right, so we're talking about fertilizers. Now, everybody's heard of 10-10-10 fertilizer. That's pretty generic fertilizer you see everywhere for lawns, gardens, all that stuff. Well, what does those numbers mean? It's NPK. First number 10 has nitrogen. The second one is phosphorus. The K is potassium. 10-10-10. And it's 10%, 10%, 10% when you buy a bag. That's what it is. So what is the nitrogen for? Nitrogen is for is the building block for leaves and stem growth. Without the nitrogen, the plants aren't green, deep green. You've seen pale-looking plants, people growing, not in your garden, of course, but I have seen it. It's usually a lack of nitrogen. So that's what you're getting when you're buying these fertilizers from the store. And you know that's made out of petroleum, right? Great.
So many things are.
But that's why.
You'd be hard pressed to, I mean, the list of things made from petroleum will boggle your mind.
Right. I mean, they figured out they got the petroleum, they're going to make every dime that they can out of it.
Yeah.
It was a waste product after World War II. That was the fertilizer industry that come out of World War II.
Yeah.
All right. Where are we at? Oh, stem growth. The small plants need this nitrogen to build a stem that'll hold up all the leaves. So without that nitrogen, they get weak. It allows fungus to get in. It doesn't allow the chlorophyll to be made. All those kind of things. It's a building block for the entire plant. On the other end of the spectrum, if you put too much nitrogen, you've heard people say, it will burn my plants. Well, that's exactly what it does. It will cook the root system, which are tiny, fine hairs. The big white roots that you see are the holding structures. But the root system is actually made up of billions of these little, tiny, fine hairs.
Okay.
And that nitrogen, if it's too strong, will burn them right off, stunt your plant. You go, well, I fertilized it, it's not growing. That's because you cooked it.
And that's a difference.
And that's a bad thing. All right, then we go to the second, NPK. P is for the phosphorus. Without phosphorus, your plant cannot photosynthesize, which is create its own food system. This is just amazing. Using chlorophyll in the presence of sunlight, kind of like a solar voltaic cell, it will create photosynthesis. It takes up carbon and hydrogen and one other one, oxygen, combines them through the presence of chlorophyll and this phosphorus to create a glucose to feed the plant itself, and that's what it does. So obviously that's pretty essential. Aids in the development of flowers, fruits, and roots. If you don't have the phosphorus, it's not going to put out enough flowers for you to get enough beans to eat. So you need the phosphorus level to be correct, so it'll produce enough flowers so you'll get enough beans or fruit. Trees need this stuff too, if you got fruit trees. And the development of the root system. This phosphorus is what makes the little root hairs grow like crazy. If it's a little low, it doesn't, not going to be able to have a big stable root system, and it's not going to feed the plant. So everything means something. Moving on to the K, NPK. K stands for potassium. Don't ask me why it doesn't start with a PO or something, but we got too many P's apparently, so they put a K in it. K stands for the potassium. That regulates the water uptake. Again, it has something to do with the root system. There is a pumping action that roots have. It's pretty amazing. It's little cells all in a line. One squeezes that's full of water and pumps it to the next one squeezes, and that's how they get water up a tree.
Wow.
It takes 1 horsepower of electricity to pump, I think it's 34 feet. That's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot.
But trees do it hundreds of feet.
Wow.
by this capillary action, the squeezing of the one cell, passing it to the next. Pretty amazing stuff. So it regulates the uptake of water. It also helps in the photosynthesis process. Photosynthesis process.
There it is.
There it is. Another root builder. And it's a carrier of the secondary nutrients. All the little micronutrients that we were talking about, the seleniums, that kind of stuff. It has to be combined with this potassium in order for it to carry through the root system. Your body works the same way. You need complex sugars to carry certain vitamins, or you don't get it. Vitamin D is one of them. Vitamin C is one of them in your body that is a carrier. Calcium, that's another one. So all these have to be present for everything to work like it's supposed to, unless you do it like the woods does and does it automatically because God designed that way. All right, then we get into this secondary nutrients, magnesium, calcium, and sulfurs. You need these three all working together for cell division. That's how your plant grows. You see the little tip coming out on your plant, and it divides a million times, and suddenly a leaf is starting to unfold. Well, it has to continue dividing those cells for that leaf to get large enough to do its job. And without these three, you're not going to have that. It'll be a very slow-growing plant. It also creates the proteins in the plant. No sense in growing a bean plant if it's not going to grow the bean. And if it's not going to create the protein, you're not going to get the bean seed because it's mostly protein. So that has to be present in order for it to create those proteins. There's a whole lot of science going on in one little plant.
I know.
And we're just oblivious to it.
It's kind of mind-boggling, really.
Yeah, the more you look, the more you see. It activates enzymes. Enzymes will break sugars down so that it can feed it to the root systems. It breaks the minerals down within the complex sugars, so the plant can use it as part of its immune system, puts it out on the leaf surface. There's just a lot going on right there. Allows chlorophyll to convert to sunshine. We talked about phosphorus doing the same thing. Well, both of these have to be present. All three have to be present in order for it to complete the cycle. It has to send it down to the root system. The root system sends up more energy, more vitamins to make the leaves grow, to make the photovoltaic cell on that plant. God, this is
how do you even keep up?
Not enough coffee, apparently. But so the more you look at it, you go, wow, this system is really, really detailed. And the more detailed that you can give your plants, the more minerals, the more complete that is, the better off that plant is, which comes back to you. So help him out. We talked about calcium. Calcium is a carrier of other vitamins, but it also builds cell structure. You've seen plants from growers, and they look kind of weak and spindly. It may be a calcium deficiency. That's how the woody parts of plants and trees are developed, with that calcium and silicon. Carrier of nutrients for immunities. All the micronutrients has to be carried to the cell itself. Then it uses it up, puts it out on the plant surface so the bugs don't attack it. Bugs can detect weak plants just as they can detect strong plants. They're not going to attack a strong plant. They're going to go after the weaker ones.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Right. Lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah,
for sure.
It is. You get faster root development with the calcium. It allows it to build the cells faster, makes them stronger, allows them to penetrate the dirt. You wonder how trees can hold on to the surface of the soil when it was mostly rock. How did it get down there? Well, because it uses calcium on the tip of the root to drill through it. That's amazing. The sulfur metabolizes of sugar. Without that, the plant can't use the sugar that it's creating in the tree. So without that, it's like not having jelly on your bread.
Yeah,
Just
a little
not
bit.
just not right. Carriers of the proteins and oils. Certain leaf structures, if you look at them, they look shiny. Well, they put that oil on there, to pump it up there, and they're creating a wax to keep the plant from evaporating too much water. So they're using all this stuff to create an environment in which they can survive. You've seen some plants that are just absolutely just bright shiny, and that's what that is. And it's the oils that they've created out of nothing, out of the soil.
Right.
That's where it all starts. So it gathers all this stuff up, combines it in a manner that benefits the plant. And we need to make sure they have all those. The second thing that sulfur is going to do is create flavors. Without the sulfur, it will not combine these complex sugars together. You got these simple sugars coming from the leaves, gets combined with these nutrients, and you get these great tastes.
Which is why I think so many store-bought things are just absolutely tasteless. I mean, they taste like nothing.
Somebody shortcutted the microbes,
Yeah,
which can't help do all this stuff.
right.
So here it is. If you have something that you're eating and it just tastes so great because your neighbor grew it, you grew it, it's because of the plant had everything it needed,
Right.
was not shortcutted, and that's where these intense flavors come. The more complex the sugar, the more complex the flavor.
Set it up for success, for sure.
I'll listen at you. How nice is that? And that's pretty much our show for today. How
Yeah,
about that?
that was a good one. There's a lot of information crammed in there, sir.
I'm just full of it.
You
Is that
are
what you
full
just
of
said?
it. I did, but I said it in a much nicer way.
Yeah, that was good.
We'll see you next time.
Talking about these root cellars.
Oh,
That is
yeah,
a good example.
that we first started about, yeah.
To start investigating these. I've got a small one, but I want a bigger one.
Yeah,
And there's a lot more to these root cellars than what people think.
if you
as
get
in
a
always.
chance, look that up because it's a pretty fascinating article about Mount Vernon. But it does make you think about the possibility of, maybe we could still benefit from root cellars even today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. See you next time.
Bye.
You've been listening to Sustainable Living Made Easy with Glenn Ballblitz, the show that gives you helpful advice on how to live more independently. If you have a question for Glenn, you can text it 434-248-0704, or you can join our group on Facebook by searching for Sustainable Living Made Easy.